A very good morning. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Smriti Rastogi with Breakfast News. In the next 30 minutes, we will get you all the news from across national, international and sports front. But before all those details, a quick look at the top headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on three-nation visit, says tour will boost trade security ties, will reach Portuguese capital Lisbon for the first leg of visit. Enforcement Directorate books Hafiz Saeed and members of Hurriyat Hizbul Mujahideen for money laundering to probe Hawala links for funding separatist and terror activities in Jammu and Kashmir. India and Russia signed protocol to step up defense engagement, cooperation in the field of political and military dialogue, besides exercises between the countries' armed forces. Financial watchdog FATF slams Pakistan on terror financing. At its meeting in Spain's Valencia, the organization says Pakistan had failed to act against the financing groups like Lashkar. And over 24 people killed in multiple blasts in Pakistan on the last Friday of Ramadan. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif calls for increased security across the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today early morning embarked on a three-nation trip. During his four-day tour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Portugal, United States and Netherlands. The Prime Minister will meet the leadership of these countries with a focus to discuss strategic cooperation. He will first visit Portugal, where he will hold talks with the Portuguese counterpart Antonio Costa in Lisbon. On June 25th, Prime Minister Modi will reach United States, where he will address members of the Indian community in Washington. Prime Minister is also scheduled to hold talks with President Donald Trump on a wide range of issues, including setting priorities and consolidating gains in the bilateral ties. This will be the first trip to the US after President Trump came to power on January 20th. In the last leg of his tour, Prime Minister Modi will visit Netherlands on 27th of June. The visit will mark the celebration of 70 years of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Netherlands. The NDA's presidential candidate Ram Nath Kovind filed his nomination papers on Friday in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In a show of might by the NDA, a battery of leaders, including chief ministers of NDA-ruled states and the party chiefs of all alliance partners, were also present.
NDA nominee Ram Nath Kovind filed his nomination papers for the post of the president on Friday. He was accompanied by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP Chief Minister Amit Shah and party veterans who included L.K. Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi. Many NDA Chief Ministers along with Telangana CM K. Chandrasekhar Rao and Tamil Nadu's E.K. Palaniswamy were also in attendance. Kovind handed his papers to Lok Sabha Secretary General Anup Mishra, who is the returning officer for this year's presidential elections on July 17th. 3 sets of nomination papers were filed. The first had Prime Minister Narendra Modi as proposer and Home Minister Rajnath Singh as seconder. The second had Amit Shah as proposer and Finance Minister Arun Jaitley as seconder. And the third had Shiromani Akali Dal Chief Prakash Singh Badal as proposer and Chandrababu Naidu as seconder. Each set of papers had 60 proposers and 60 seconders. It will be a Dalit versus Dalit contest for the 15th President of India. After 17 opposition parties on Thursday announced former Lok Sabha Speaker and Congress veteran Meera Kumar as their joint candidate. Votes will be counted on July 20th after the polling on July 17th. With inputs from Vishal Daya, Pranav Goswami and Navvikram Singh, Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
An NDA's presidential nominee Ram Nath Kovind asserted on Friday that the post of president is above party politics. He also vowed to maintain the dignity of the highest office in the country.
After filing his nomination papers, NDA's presidential candidate Ram Nath Kovind said his political affiliation ended the day he assumed office of Bihar governor. However, he did express gratitude to everyone supporting his candidature.
सभी को विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि मैं सर्वोच्च पद की गरिमा को बनाए रखने के लिए हर संभव प्रयास करूंगा। राष्ट्रपति पद के सभी मतदाता दल के सदस्यों से भी मैं सहयोग की अपील करता हूं।
Referring to national security, Kovind said the president is also the supreme commander of all three forces. So the responsibility to keep India's borders secure is of paramount importance.
देश का राष्ट्रपति तीनों सेनाओं का सुप्रीम कमांडर भी होता है। देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा करना भी हम सबकी प्राथमिकता होती है।
Besides the NDA's constituents, which comprise over 48.6% of the votes in the Electoral College, Kovind has also gained the support of non-NDA parties like the AIADMK, both Shashikala and Paneerselvam factions, the TRS, BJD and JDU. Kovind is now estimated to have 62% of the votes in the Electoral College. If elected, Kovind will be the second Dalit to hold the post after K.R. Narayanan, who served as the President of India from 1997 to 2002. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the opposition has said that it will contest the July 17th presidential election on the basis of ideology. They have also appealed to all the secular forces to support its nominee Meera Kumar. The former Lok Sabha Speaker has the backing of 17 non-NDA political parties. After being nominated as the opposition's candidate, Meera Kumar had also said that this was a fight between different ideologies. Appealing for votes, she said that it would be in the best interest of the country. Meanwhile, Bihar Chief Minister and JDU Chief Nitish Kumar ruled out any change in his party's stand on supporting the NDA's presidential pick, Ram Nath Kovind. He attacked the Congress for propping up Bihar ki beti Meera Kumar as the opposition's candidate for the lost cause. He said that the JDU took the decision after considering all aspects. However, both RJD and JDU have said that this will not have any impact on the Grand Alliance government in Bihar. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party is likely to make an announcement regarding its stand on the presidential candidate today. Meera Kumar is likely to file her nomination papers on 27th of June. 28th of June is the last day for the nominations. The Enforcement Directorate has filed a charge sheet in a money laundering case against terror groups and separatists operating in Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan. The ED named the likes of Hafiz Saeed, the chief of Lashkar-e-Taiba, and members of Hurriyat Conference, Hizbul Mujahideen and Duktaran-e-Millat under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. However, the ED did not take the names of any separatist leader. The ED will investigate the flow of funds through Hawala and other illegal channels for funding separatist and terror activities in Jammu and Kashmir. On June 4th, the National Investigative Agency raided 33 locations at Srinagar, Delhi and Haryana in a crackdown on terror funding in Jammu and Kashmir. This came after some separatist leaders were caught on camera saying that they received fundings from Lashkar-e-Taiba and other sources in Pakistan to fund stone pelters and violent protests against government in Jammu and Kashmir. A leading intergovernmental financial watchdog has slammed Pakistan for continued complicity in financing terror entities. At its meeting in Spain's Valencia, the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, closely scrutinized Pakistan's record on terror financing. At the meet, FATF said that certain UN-designated terror groups in the country were receiving money due to lack of control by the authorities. It is noteworthy that FATF is a Paris-based organization which sets standards for the banks globally and promotes measures for combating money laundering and terrorist financing. A report on Pakistan's complicity in terror financing was discussed at FATF plenary, the group's highest decision-making body that took place from 18th to 23rd of June. The scathing remarks came just 2 years after Pakistan was removed from the blacklist that imposed enhanced surveillance on the country's financial system. Now the issue will be discussed at organization's Asia-Pacific Group annual meeting in July. India and Russia on Friday agreed on a roadmap for ramping up bilateral defense cooperation and decided to conclude negotiations for different military platforms soon. Both the sides signed a protocol for the roadmap to step up defense engagements during the annual meeting of the Indian-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military Technical Cooperation. The meeting was co-chaired by Defense Minister Arun Jaitley and his Russian counterpart General Sergei Shoigu. The roadmap includes specific activities to be concluded by both the sides that aims to enhance cooperation in the field of political and military dialogue, besides exercises between the armed forces of the two countries. A senior police officer was murdered by a mob in Srinagar on Thursday night. The incident took place when DSP Muhammad Ayub Pandit was on patrol duty outside a mosque in plain clothes. The incident has triggered widespread condemnation from the political parties.
Two people were arrested on Friday in connection with the lynching of a police officer in Srinagar on Thursday night. Deputy Superintendent of Police Muhammad Ayub Pandit was stripped naked and stoned to death by an irate mob near Jamia Masjid in Nauhata area while on duty. This after he allegedly opened fire at a group of people who had caught him clicking pictures. According to police officials, Pandit was posted at the access control of the mosque to prevent any untoward incident ahead of night-long prayers on the occasion of Shab-e-Qadr when he was attacked. Pandit's body was recovered on Friday morning from outside the mosque. 3 people were also injured in the incident.
लोगों की हिफाजत के लिए डीएसपी साहब को एक्सेस कंट्रोल के लिए मस्जिद में लगाया था ताकि कोई गलत अनासर लोगों को डिस्टर्ब ना करे, लेकिन उन्हीं में से कुछ लोगों ने जो उनको बचाने वाला था उसको शहीद किया और लिंच किया। बहुत अफसोस की बात है। इंसानियत और हैवानियत में फ़र्क बहुत कम हो गया और अच्छाई और बुराई में लोगों को समझना चाहिए हमारे लिए अच्छा क्या है, बुरा क्या है।
Political parties too have condemned the attack. Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti described the incident as shameful, and leader of the opposition National Conference Party Omar Abdullah said the manner of the DSP's death was a travesty.
एक शख्स जो लोगों की हिफाजत के लिए अपना फर्ज अंजाम दे रहा है, उसको इस तरह से मारपीट करके उसको मार देना, इससे बड़ा शर्मनाक वाक़या कोई हो नहीं सकता है। और खासकर ये जो डीएसपी साहब थे, इन्होंने ये सोचा कि ये इनका अपना इलाका है, इसलिए इन्होंने बड़े दिन की वजह से जो इनके पास अपने सिक्योरिटी के लोग थे उनको बोला कि वो चले जाएं अपने घरों में शव खाने के लिए। तो इससे ज़्यादा भरोसे का खून क्या हो सकता है।
Police has also claimed to have identified a third suspect in the incident. Restrictions were imposed on the movement of people in 7 police station areas across Srinagar as a precautionary measure. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now the news from Darjeeling, where all 45 members of Gorkha Janmukti Morcha resigned from the Gorkha Land Territorial Administration on Friday. The members forwarded their resignations to the Principal Secretary of GTA. The move comes after an all-party meeting convened on June 20th, where it was decided that the Morcha will withdraw themselves from the tripartite GTA Accord. Meanwhile, GGM supporters also organized a protest march demanding a separate state. Meanwhile, the Calcutta High Court directed that notice be served on the GJM chief Bimal Gurung by all means possible in a PIL challenging the indefinite Bandh. The hill town is witnessing an indefinite strike since June 12th.
गोरखालैंड का आंदोलन के लिए अभी सभी पार्टी का अपील भी था। अलायंस पार्टनर जो भी हम लोग का अपोजिशन जितना भी हम लोग का पार्टी था, अलायंस आगे था, सभी अपील किया था कि जीटे को त्याग देना होगा। तो आज हम लोग सभी मिलकर सभी सभासद जितना भी आया है और जो भी नहीं आया है सब ने लेटर अभी दिया है कि जीटे का औदा से सभी रेजिग्नेशन करके आज से एक साधारण सदस्य होकर अपना लड़ाई में आगे जाके जो है करना करेंगे।
We want Gorkhaland. This is the slogan we have been hearing all around. So now we want to prove a sincerity, and that is why General Party has come to the street now, and one and only demand that we have in our mind is that to achieve Gorkhaland.
And let's take a look at all the other national developments in our segment Nationwide. Jat protesters on Friday blocked railway tracks in Rajasthan seeking OBC quota reservation for the community belonging to Dholpur and Bharatpur districts. Jat leader Vishwendra Singh stated that if government was willing to provide reservation, it should be given in writing. Earlier on Thursday, the OBC Commission had submitted its report to Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje. The district administration, however, is trying to convince the protesters to lift the blockade. The Punjab Assembly on Friday passed a bill to enable hotels, restaurants and other notified places near the highways in the state to supply liquor. However, restriction on opening of liquor vends within 500 meters of highways will remain as per the directions of the Supreme Court, which were issued in December last year. The CBSE on Friday declared results for the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test for admission to MBBS and BDS courses. Navdeep Singh from Punjab scored the top rank with 697 marks out of 700. As many as 11.38 lakh students appeared for the NEET, out of which over 6.11 lakh have passed. 8 transgenders appeared for the test, while 5 have qualified. And with that, we'll slip into a very short break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai and you're watching Law of the Land.
Jammu and Kashmir does have a special status.
Database should be available for all states.
We are not touching the jurisdictions of the Jammu and Kashmir Collection of Statistics Act.
Watch Law of the Land on Rajya Sabha television.
And now the news from the international front. Multiple blasts killed at least 27 people and wounded 120 others in 2 Pakistani cities on the last Friday of Ramadan. Officials say the death toll could rise. Twin blasts first tore through a market in Parachinar, capital Khurram district, a mainly Shia area of Pakistan's tribal belt. The blasts were detonated as the market was crowded with shoppers preparing for Eid al-Fitr festival, marking the end of Ramadan. No group has claimed the responsibility for the Parachinar blast. The twin blast in Parachinar followed by bombing earlier in the day in southwestern Quetta, capital of Balochistan province, which killed at least 13 people. It was claimed by both the local affiliate of ISIS and by Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, an offshoot of the Pakistani Taliban. Violence also hit the city of Karachi, where at least 4 policemen were reported to have been shot and killed on Friday evening. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif called for security to be increased across the country as he condemned the attack, saying that no Muslim could ever imagine committing such a horrific act. And news from London, where more than 800 homes from 5 publicly owned apartment towers were evacuated because of the fire safety concerns. People in 5 towers on Chalcott's estate were being moved for urgent fire safety works after an inspection found them to be unsafe. Safety concerns in residential buildings are top of the mind in London following the devastating Grenfell Tower fire that killed 79 people in a West London high-rise last week. Residents of thousands of tower blocks around the Britain had expressed concern and outrage after commonly used building materials were blamed for rapidly spreading the blaze that destroyed Grenfell Tower. Camden Council in North London, which announced the evacuation, is the first local government to take the dramatic step of emptying its building so safety upgrades could be made.
What I will tell you is that a local authority would not make a decision like this lightly. They thought about it long and hard. They decided constituents weren't safe, which is why they've made a decision to evacuate people overnight. I realise it's disruptive to people's lives, but constituent safety comes first. If it's not safe, then people need to go.
What we found was that while the insulation was safe, the external cladding was not up to the standard that we wanted and was not fire retardant. Obviously, this was very disappointing. We shared that news with our residents. I know it's difficult, but Grenfell changes everything, and I just don't believe we can take any risk with our residents' safety, and I have to put them first.
European Union citizens living in Britain have branded Theresa May's offer to guarantee their rights post-Brexit as pathetic. They were responding to May's offer of guaranteeing their rights to stay in UK. May has termed her offer as very fair and very serious. EU leaders too have been cautious in responding to the offer, only saying that it is a good start.
The European Union has called UK Prime Minister Theresa May's offer to guarantee the rights of its compatriots as vague. However, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has described UK's plans as a good start. But Merkel also said there were many other questions about Brexit and there was still a lot to do.
We want to ensure the full rights for EU and UK citizens after Brexit. My first impression is that the UK's offer is below our expectations and that it risks worsening the situation of citizens. But it will be for our negotiate line by line once we receive it on paper.
Aufenthalt die Menschen in Großbritannien auch legal ihnen die Möglichkeit gibt zu bleiben. Das war ein guter Anfang, aber noch nicht der Durchbruch, um es mal vorsichtig zu sagen. Das heißt, wir haben uns wieder darauf verständigt. Wir wollen das alles in gutem.
Theresa May maintains that her offer to fellow EU leaders was very fair and very serious. May outlined 5 principles on Thursday, most notable of them being that no EU resident in Britain at a cut-off date would be deported.
I want to reassure all those EU citizens who are in the UK, who've made their lives and homes in the UK, that no one will have to leave. We won't be seeing families split apart. This is a fair and serious offer. And I want to give those EU citizens in the UK certainty about the future of their lives. But I also want to see that certainty given to UK citizens who are living in the European Union.
May's proposal says those EU citizens who have lived in Britain for 5 years could stay for life. Those there for less than 5 would be allowed to stay until they reach the 5-year threshold for settled status. Those who qualify for settled status will be allowed to stay in the country and access health, education and other benefits. The plan would affect 3.2 million EU citizens living in the UK, around 1 million of whom have lived in the country less than 5 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's take a look at more developments from across the world in World Wrap. 6 foreign pilgrims and 5 security personnel were injured in Saudi Arabia in an attempted suicide bombing at the Grand Mosque in Mecca. The suicide bomber, who was planning to attack the Grand Mosque, blew himself up when security forces surrounded a house where he was hiding. 5 suspects, including a woman, have been arrested. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has pardoned 502 prisoners before the Eid al-Fitr holiday. The prisoners to be released include prominent businessman Hishmat Talat Mustafa. He was sentenced to 15 years prison for conspiring and hiring a hitman to kill Lebanese pop star Suzanne Tamim in 2008. The others include 25 women and a large number of youth jailed in cases involving protest and gathering. At least 100 people were swallowed by cascading debris in a massive landslide that smashed through southwest China's Sichuan province. The landslide occurred after the side of a mountain collapsed, blocking 2-kilometer stretch of river in a valley of Moxian County. Local authorities have declared a state of top emergency for the situation. An emergency response and rescue operation is underway. Serbia's new president, Alexander Vučić, has been formally inaugurated. The ceremony was attended by many foreign leaders and dignitaries amid protest. The 46-year-old Vučić was sworn in on 31st of May at a ceremony in parliament that was marred by protest supported by the majority of opposition parties. In cricket, first ODI between India and West Indies at the port of Spain was washed out on Friday. Put into bat first, Indian opener Shikhar Dhawan continued his superb form as he hit another half-century, falling just 13 runs short of his 11th ODI ton. His partner Ajinkya Rahane too scored a 50 as the opening pair put on 132 runs. Captain Virat Kohli was on 32 not out and MS Dhoni on 9 when rain interrupted the play with India on 199 for 3 in the 40th over. With no results in the first match, the 5-match series remains at the level of 0-0. The second ODI will be played on Sunday at the same venue. In badminton, India's Kidambi Srikanth entered the semi-final of the men's singles at Australian Open Super Series badminton tournament. The world number 22, Srikanth defeated compatriot Sai Praneeth in straight sets 25-23, 21-17. He is now the lone Indian remaining in the tournament and will next face 4th seed Yuki Shi of China. However, it was curtains for women's shuttlers as both PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal were knocked out of the tournament after a tough quarter-final battle. Sindhu lost to world number 1 Tai Tzu Ying of China 21-10, 20-22, 16-21, while Saina was ousted by the 6th-seeded Sun Yu in 3 games 17-21, 21-10, 21-17. And let's take a look at some other developments in sports beat. Silver medalist from the Commonwealth Games L. Devendra Singh beat Russia's Dmitry Yusupov to advance to the semi-finals of the Ulbanta Cup boxing tournament. However, world champion MC Marie Kom, who returned to action after a 1-year hiatus, lost the bout against Korea's Kwol Mi Banga. India will open their ICC Women's World Cup 2017 campaign against England on Saturday in Bristol. Australia are coming into the tournament as the defending champions and they will start their campaign against West Indies on June 26th. The 8 top teams of the world are vying for the title, which is being held in United Kingdom from June 24th to 23rd of July. Roger Federer reached the Halle Open semi-finals on Friday after beating defending champion Florian Mayer 6-3, 6-4, the 18-time Grand Slam champion. Federer skipped the entire clay court season to prepare for grass. He will next face Russian Karen Khachanov for the semi-finals. And that's all we have for you in this edition of Breakfast News. Keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.